Audio test, 1, 2, 3. This is the facilitator microphone. Just making sure that the board is able to broadcast this meeting on YouTube and Zoom. Just providing some audio input for the audio check. Audio input coming through. Good morning once again to our attendees who are joining us here in the Board of Public Works hearing room. If there are any members of the public who wish to offer commentary, either general public comment or agenda item commentary on any of our items on today's agenda, please fill out a speaker card located in the back of the room, indicate which item you'd like to speak on, and hand it to me. I'll record your information for the record and call upon you when we reach your item. Good morning as well to our attendees who are joining us on the virtual platform. I currently have Adedale, Yvonne, and Gigi who've indicated that they wish to offer public comment. If there are any additional members of the public who wish to offer public commentary who are joining us on the virtual platform, please raise your hand. I'll record your information for the record and call upon you when we reach your item. And we should get started with the board meeting in approximately 7 minutes. Thank you. And I do see Bureau Representative Nur, who has raised your hand. Good morning, Nur.
Hey, good morning. I just wanted to check myself in as a BOE representative today.
Very good. Thank you.
Sure. And so there's no confusion. Richard Louie was supposed to be the representative, but there was a last minute switch because he had a conflict, so I'm stepping in for him.
Got it. Got it. Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Nur. I'm going to go ahead and lower your hand. Morning. And I do see Jill has raised your hand on the virtual platform. Good morning, Jill. Would you like to offer public comment this morning?
Just public comment, general.
Very
Okay.
well. Thank you. I have you down for public comment, Jill. I'm going to go ahead and put you back on mute and lower your hand. Once again, good morning to our attendees who are joining us here in the board hearing room. Good morning to city staff, executives, and members of the public. If there are any members of the public who wish to offer public commentary or agenda item commentary on any of our items this morning who are here in the hearing room, please fill out a speaker card located in the back of the room, indicate which item you'd like to speak on, and hand it to me. I'll record your information for the record and call upon you when we reach your item. And good morning as well to our attendees who are joining us on the virtual platform. If there are any members of the public who have not already done so, who wish to offer commentary on our agendized items or general public comment, please raise your hand and indicate which item you'd like to speak on. I'll record your information for the record. And we should get started with the meeting in approximately 1 or 2 minutes. Thank you. President Kang, we are now in record mode and ready to begin.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for Monday, September 15th, 2025. Mr. Knight, please take roll and establish quorum.
Thank you. Good morning, President Kang, Vice President Chavez, President Pro Tem Grant, Commissioner Mitchell, and Commissioner Cardenas are present. We do have a quorum. We are joined this morning by City Attorney Representative Thomas Costello-Vegas. I'm Assistant Executive Officer TJ Knight. President Kang, we have one speaker on item 8 who is here in the hearing room. We have 4 public commenters and 3 multiple agenda item commenters on the Zoom platform. And the Assistant Executive Officer has received and distributed 9 comments on item 8 and 5 general public comments via the Google comment feature on the board's website. And that link is on our agendas, and that has been distributed to all commissioners, bureau staff, and the city attorney. We have no neighborhood council commentary this morning.
Thank you very much. We will get started with the general public comment, which is an opportunity for the public to address the board on public interest items, and will be provided up to 1 minute per person. And I'll be waiving the 10-minute cap that we have for the general public comment segment of each this particular meeting. And testimony shall be limited in content to subject matters which are within the jurisdiction of the Board of Public Works. The board may not take any action on any matters discussed during the public comment period. While we get started with our virtual commenters related to general public comment, if those of you in the audience would like to address the board on general public comment, please fill out the card at the back of the room. And also, if you've submitted a single agenda item public comment, we will wait to hear from you until after that particular item is addressed. So we will start with our virtual general public comment.
Very well. Thank you, President Kang. We'll go ahead and start with Audit LA. Audit LA, please provide your general public comment. You have 60 seconds.
Thank you for suspending the 10-minute rule. And good morning, everyone. I just want to let you know that I went to and looked at the auditor's event at Scientology on L. Ron Hubbard Way. And I was concerned because we saw them building these 12-foot, over 12-foot towers with banners. And as of Friday, I couldn't find out whether or not they were inspected, which they are required to be inspected. And, you know, in the previous events, they have not had inspections. So again, we keep giving them permits, but there's no finding out, or, you know, are they doing their part, especially with something, because when they're having their people who are making slave wages, you know, building towers, are they even using safety equipment? Are they handling it safely? Do they know what they're doing with building these things, you know, when it comes to OSHA regulations, because they don't seem to want to follow any laws with this stuff. I'm very concerned. I'm concerned for the safety of all these individuals, and I'm begging.
Thank you. That's 60 seconds. We'll move next to Yvonne.
Thank you. I would like to ask the board to have the Contract Compliance Office make a critical review of the revocable permit regarding L. Ron Hubbard Way and all the non-compliance over the last 28 years of every term and condition in that permit. Please note that the labor is only one of several of the non-compliances. Included is not having evidence of continuous insurance coverage for the 28 years, not having on-site or nearby the necessary materials, basically 20 pallets of rick and the related sand for making repairs. That's a requirement within the margins of the agreement. And also permits for making changes to the parking and
Thank
the
you.
removal of
That's
parking.
60 seconds. We'll move next to Gigi.
Good morning. I would like to echo what the 2 previous callers have said. That revocable permit needs to be revoked. They need to be investigated on this. They are not in compliance on several different levels. So please investigate it. Also, please do not allow them to get their permit for Halloween We told you before about that blackout maze that they have and how there were the random adults going in there alone with the kids and how they should not have that maze, but they should not have the permit at all. Scientology, aka Building Management Service, should not have any special privileges when it comes to getting permits. They're just like everyone else. Stop giving Scientology special privileges. Thank you. I yield my time.
And we'll move next to Jill.
Dittoing whatever the three previous callers to the Zoom platform just said. So there's no need to repeat that. Just say that you need to revoke everything with the permits. All religions, supposed religions, because I consider it a cult, but every religion is expected to follow the laws of the land, safety and health, etc. Any kind of laws or rules that you have in the city should be abided by. Sent my daughter to a religious preschool when she was little. They were following the laws of the land and did not put children's safety at risk, and everything was done. They required physicals. They required looking at people's health status. And why isn't that done for this cult that says that they're a religion? It's absolutely outrageous that they're getting away with what they're getting away with. Bye.
President King, that concludes the list of commenters who have requested to provide public commentary on the Zoom platform. However, I do see 2 additional hands raised. If you'd like, I can
Yes,
see
please.
if they would like to offer commentary. Thank you. I'll start with Laura FM.
Hi, thank you. Good morning, board. I would also like, again, if there's some way that we can have somebody actually work on this. I'm not sure if the board is really working on it or if you just are sick of us calling, but we won't stop. We have to work on getting Scientology to get rid of their safe pointing by keeping all these permits and by upholding the rounding up of the whole neighborhood. They're running the whole neighborhood because that's what they believe is their entitled doing. This is something that somebody can really go and investigate and say, all right, that's it. We're going to revoke this permit. That's it. They're using this. They haven't been keeping up with their, they're upholding their end. So please just revoke their permit. Put it back to North Berendo Street. There's already so much torture and commitments of crimes to Scientology on this subject. Please revoke their permit. Get rid of their revocable permit.
Thank you.
And
Thank you. That's 60 seconds. And Georgina McPhee, I see your hand is raised. Would you like to offer public comment this morning?
Yes, please, thank you.
Go ahead.
I'm also calling about the revocable permit. I don't understand why a monster like L. Ron Hubbard has a street named after him. We don't have streets named after Saddam Hussein. Why are we naming streets after people that have tortured and oppressed people? His organization is guilty of human trafficking, slavery, horrible, horrible crimes. And we've allowed them to steal a street from our city. They literally came out in the middle of the night, painted that curb red, and stole that street from the community. So there's no longer public parking there. They need to have that street taken back. That street belongs to the people. It doesn't belong to Scientology. I yield back my time. Thank you.
President King, that concludes public comment this morning.
Thank you very much. Mr. Knight, have we received any additional general public comment?
No, we have not, President King.
Okay. All right. So thank you very much. With that, we will close the general public comment portion of today's meeting and move on to multiple agenda item public comment. The board will provide an opportunity for members of the public wishing to speak on more than one agenda item during multiple agenda item public comment period, up to a minute per item, up to a total of 3 minutes per meeting. This is the only time to speak on more than one agenda item, and please identify the items that you will speak on when you are called. We will get started with our virtual callers.
Thank you, President King. We'll go ahead and get started with Audit LA.
Good morning again. I would like to speak on minutes and number 3 and number 6, please.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to start with number 6. Well, long before any of you, the only one who may remember this would be TJ, back in June, July of 2024, when we started, we were talking about how they were doing work, Scientology was doing work on underground tunnels. And there was film footage of workers coming out and admitting that they were working on tunnels underneath, shoring up the walls. And I know this was made complaints to building safety services, and it's keep saying under investigation. I don't know the resolution to that. So with this equipment going under the sewers and being able to take cameras under the sewers, I'm assuming it's something similar where, you're seeing what's safe, what's not safe, if there's any kind of, because we live in an earthquake area, is there any kind of crumbling? And I'm wondering if that can be used under these tunnels, because there are tunnels, underneath the buildings under L. Ron Hubbard Way. It's a fact. There was an old hospital, and they do use those tunnels. That's a fact. But we don't know if the work that was done, and like I said, admitted by not, by workers, by trade people, not even, they weren't Scientologists. And if it's that same level, if we can use that for the safety, because that is a concern of mine, even though it seems like a year ago. I can never get that out of my mind. Are these tunnels safe? Like, I don't want anything to happen to any person, any Scientologist, anyone. I don't want anyone harmed. I genuinely care about the welfare of these people. And it's just that their organization doesn't care, and the people are trusting their organization to do the right thing and care. And so since the organization isn't, and Scientology isn't, I'm going to be here, and a group of us are going to be here to stand up for these people, and and ask you guys, the city, to please make sure they are safe. When it comes to minutes, I'll do minutes next. Again, it's been continuous coming, and issues have changed. Because see, like now, President Kang and the commission, if you want to look back on the minutes of what happened, like what's she talking about? You cannot go back to the minutes and find the discussions that we had about the tunnels. And, because it was never recorded in the minutes. And see, that's what I was trying to say, for like historical purposes, even for your own historical purpose. Like now you would have to go and listen and, and you queue up the tapes to listen, to what was said and when, you don't know the date. How easy would it have been for you to have access to the minutes and be able to go through and say, oh, yes, they
Thank
were
you.
bringing up this issue. Thank
Thank
you.
you. That's 3 minutes, and we'll move next to Yvonne.
Thank you, TJ.
Go ahead.
I'd like to speak on the minutes first, and I would like to comment that the city, this board, and you as individuals have been receiving information from the general public multiple times over the risks that are being placed upon members of our community, and that includes Scientologists and Sea Org members. The risks include risk of life and limb, and should there be a lawsuit resulting from some tragedy, the evidence is being hidden by the lack of it being called out in your minutes in the summary form. However, know for sure that if such event takes place, we will, as a community, aid the discovery process to help facilitate any pending lawsuit that results from your administrative neglect. Also, let's start off with number one, the Green Streets Initiative. I appreciate that detail, and I would like to compliment the city of Los Angeles for having the LA recycle program where they grind up old concrete. And I suggest in the current times where aggregate and other materials are scarce, you might communicate with the city of San Bernardino related to the Oxbow concrete mountain that was a accidental dump site with abundant materials sitting to be utilized. Number two, congratulations on closing a contract not for just the contract price, but for the actual amount that was reflected by the work being done. That goes to the evidence that the contract compliance office is doing their job. Continue the good work. The number 3, the groundwater inspection also included some soil gases, and it wasn't in detail enough for me to know exactly what was being detected or watched for. It being located where it is, that could be anything from old outgassing from old oil wells, and I hope that the fire department and the crew is not put at risk by having their day in and day out activities near
Thank you.
that site.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Thank you.
And we'll move next to Gigi.
Okay, so I'm going to speak on minutes 3 and 6.
Go ahead.
I'm going to start with 3. It says that first it was 766,000, and now it was 466, and now it's 766. Why is the budget increasing almost double? That is ridiculous. Yes, it's a lower number than a lot of these, but that's ridiculous that it's almost double the amount that was supposed to be. I want to speak on the minutes now. Currently, I know of at least one case going on in court where having the minutes could have had an impact on their case. I don't know if it really would help them with their case, but it would have been nice to have the availability of the minutes reflect what we've been saying for over a year in public comments. You know, about a year ago, I started calling in, and there's no reflection of any of us calling in about the planters. And, you know, like I said, there's currently a court case going on, and it would have been nice for that person to have the availability of the historical content that we've, you know, been speaking on. You know, public comments been received is not enough. You know, again, you don't need to go into, you know, detail where it's like every speaker. You just need to put like the bullet points of what we talked about. You know, like do better. And number 6, you know what? Let me just yield my time.
President Kang, that concludes multiple agenda item commentary this morning.
Thank you very much. With that, we will close the multiple item public comment portion of today's meeting and move forward with the approval of minutes for Monday, September 8, 2025. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Seeing none, is there a first and a second?
So moved. Second.
First by Commissioner Cardenas, seconded by President Pro Tem Grant.
Very well. We'll go ahead and take a roll call vote on approval of minutes, starting with you, President Kang.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant.
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell. And Commissioner Cardenas.
Aye.
All ayes, and this item is approved unanimous.
Thank you very much. Next, I am going to move up the agenda and we'll consider item number 8 for our first discussions. So I would like to invite our sanitation folks up for your presentation, and then we'll hear from the members of the public.
Good morning. While they're pulling up a presentation, I'm Dan Myers. I'm the division manager for the Solid Resources Commercial Franchise Division within LA Sanitation.
Do you mind pulling up the mic a little bit? Yes, thank you.
Yep. Yep. Thank you. Is this good?
Yeah, better.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Good morning, commissioners. Today we're asking the board's approval to release the new request for proposals, also known as an RFP, for our Recicla program to replace the existing 7 contracts. Before we discuss the details of the new RFP, I'd like to go over just some quick background of the Recicla program as a whole and what has got us here till today. So, so just a quick background of how waste is collected in the city. It's really collected by 3 different groups. Our single family and smaller multifamily complexes are collected by LA San. We have our construction and demolition debris is collected by permitted haulers, permitted to collect construction debris. And third is the collection of solid resources, that's solid waste, trash, organics, from larger multifamily complexes and commercial complexes. And that's collected under an exclusive franchise system known as Recicla. So I'll begin to start with a little background on Recicla. The current Recicla program began with the City Council adopting a number of program goals. These program goals address the collection of solid resources from commercial and multifamily complexes, and included the development of 11 zones and an exclusive franchise system. Upon the adoption of the new program, LA San released an RFP that resulted in contracts with 7 Recicla service providers, also known as RSPs as an acronym. These contracts were executed on January 31st, 2017 and expire in January 2027. The contracts have an initial term of 10 years with 2 5-year renewal options. When these contracts expire in 2027, it leaves the city with 3 options of moving forward. They can extend the existing contracts as they are and as the existing terms are for a 5-year term. We could negotiate a contract amendment that would include an extension past 2027, or we can release a new RFP. And that's what we'll be going over today. So I mentioned that there are a number of program goals that were adopted. Many of these program goals were achieved. Unfortunately, some of them were only partially achieved and some of them not achieved at all. The city established a goal of 0 waste in the city. In our Recicla contracts, it included annual landfill reduction goals. And those goals, although they're calculated every year, they're measured 2 times during the contract term. Unfortunately, none of our RSPs met their landfill reduction goals in all of their zones. Another goal, which was achieved, was to establish clear and consistent rates citywide. Although that goal was achieved, it also came with a number of challenges, and most of those around the rates established for extra services, which I will get into in more detail. Talked about the city's 0 waste goals. Through the Recicla program, we had a goal of reducing landfill disposal by 1 million tons by 2025. So that would have been this year. And we are not on the trajectory to meet that goal. And it also, the program also included a phased-in organics program. When we established the program, we established organics as part of the system, but it wasn't part of the base service that all customers receive, with the idea that as infrastructure was developed and improved to support organics, the organics program would roll out citywide. And unfortunately, as of today, we have about 60% of our customers that have not subscribed to organic services. So with that, we have achieved a number of our goals. Prior to the start of Recicla, most of our commercial businesses did not have an established recycling program. I'm happy to say that All businesses, commercial and multifamily, are now provided Blue Bin for recycling as part of their base level of service. We've also seen significant improvements in the working conditions and for the solid waste sector. And prior to Recicla, it was a system where it was pretty much dealer choice. A customer could choose the service provider of their liking, which resulted in, on a single block, multiple waste haulers. We've replaced that system with an exclusive system that provides the most efficient collection possible. So each RSP routes to the greatest efficiency for the collection of solid waste, recycling, and organics. We receive a number of calls every day, every month, regarding miscollections. It's an unfortunate part of the collection system. However, when we look at it, there are nearly 1.4 million bin lifts done every single month. When we look at the black bin, the blue bin, and the green bin combined, we compare that to the number of calls we get in for miscollections. We have a collection efficiency of over 99%. So we did achieve the goal of making sure that the rates are not only set contractually, but they move, they increase based upon the terms of the contract. That includes a calculated CPI indexed rate increase. Unfortunately, I'll get to that a little bit later, they did also include some additional rate increases that were allowed annually. And through the Recicla program, we now have sufficient infrastructure to process all of the recycling and organics collected through our Recicla program. And that's occurred through over $175 million in new and improved infrastructure. Also happy to report that all of the collection vehicles operated in the city are near zero emission natural gas vehicles. Those replaced, I think there's over 540 of them altogether. Those replaced what was a predominantly diesel fleet of trucks operated in the city prior to Recicla program. So just some other highlights of our program. Although we talked a lot about not meeting our zero waste goals, that doesn't mean that there hasn't been a significant amount of recycling has taken place. To date, we've collected over 1.4 million tons of blue bin material, as well as over 350,000 tons of organics. Some of the other pieces of the Recicla program is our service providers directly support food rescue. And through those food rescue efforts, we've been able to capture the equivalent of 44 million meals served to those who are in need. So as we've moved through the Recicla program, there's a lot of lessons learned. I want to highlight a lot of our lessons learned are not us sitting there looking at the contracts and see what works. It's from what we've heard from our customers. So we have over 8 years of inspectors out in the field talking with customers calling in and talking with staff, and really understanding the pieces of the program that are the most problematic for our customers. As well as some of our own experiences in implementing the contracts. These are referred to, I refer to them as our lessons learned, but there really are critical contract terms that need to be changed as we move forward in our new contracts. That includes the impacts of extra service charges. And there's a number of them. Some of the extra service charges are something that a customer requests. If they ask for their bin to be collected an additional time that week because they're doing a clean out, there's a charge associated with that. But there's also extra service charges that are much more impactful that the customer really doesn't have a choice in. And that has to do with access and distance charges. I'll get into those in a bit more detail, but in many cases, these charges alone can double or triple or more customers' bills over their rate level of service. The extra service charges that have also been problematic have to do with overfilled and overweight bins. Um, um, we do know that we don't want customers to overflow their bins and having material, falling onto their street or their own property. We want them to have sufficient service. But the way the contracts are set up is that if the lid can't shut, then they can get charged an extra service fee. And I was engaged with one of our elected officials just 2 weeks ago and was asking, Dan, is this true? We had a customer where a box, the bin was half full, but a box was not broken down. It was keeping the lid from closing. And can they charge an overfilled? And the answer is yes. Per the contract, they can. So these are some of the extra service charges that we know we need to address in a new contract. We also know, and I talked about it, that the way we rolled out the organic program is it becomes an optional service for the customer. Obviously, with over 60% of our customers not subscribing, many customers have opted not to subscribe to organics. And that's problematic for a number of reasons. The first is we're not going to reach our zero waste goals. Organics are a key component to our reaching our goals. They've also been shown that organics in the landfills are one of the largest contributors to greenhouse gases coming from landfills. On top of that, our state Senate Bill 1383 requires every customer to have organic service. Now, when a customer doesn't have organic service, the city is responsible for going out and enforcing that through penalties, notices of violation and penalties. And if the customers, with the number of customers that are not subscribed to organics, the city itself is in non-compliance with SB 1383, making the city subject to fines or penalties from Cal Recycle that oversees this. Talked a little bit about, our rates changing predictably, which is all indexed. Rates also included, the contracts also included a number of other potential rate increases, and it had to do with the change in and the pricing for recyclables. There was a rate increase that if the RSPs aren't making enough money, they can get another rate increase. There's a change of law. So in addition to the predictability of an indexed rate increase, there was additional rate increases that we do not believe should be part of our contracts as we move forward. Also, and we've heard this a lot from our customers, that there is no time limit currently for bins be left in the street. So on a lot of properties, the bin cannot be collected from within the property, so it has to be brought out to the street. That bin can be there for an hour. That bin could be there all day. There are no requirements in the contract of how long that bin can be left out for. As that bin is not at its permanent location, that has an impact to customers that are seeking to place their solid resources in the correct bin. So talked a bit about the impacts of access and distance fees on customers. These fees for our service providers are substantial. on the black bin alone, we have nearly $60 million in fees charged to customers annually for access and distance. Again, in most cases, the customer doesn't have a choice in what they can do with these bins. Also, we'll talk about, we saw early on the impacts of the access and distance fees. We didn't agree with the RSPs that they were applied in the way that was intended through the contracts. We entered into a contract negotiation, resulting in a contract amendment, and we were successful in removing access and distance fees, of which on blue bins only, still on black, still on green. The access and distance were removed on blue bins. The RSPs would absorb 50% of the cost that they could have charged customers, but it cost the city the other 50%. And that other 50% is costing the city $22 million a year that's paid out of the general fund. So that's referred to, and it's got another slide on it, the Removing Barriers to Recycling program. So we'll just move on from here. So talked about the impacts of the Removing Barriers to Recycling program. So we're on slide 11. The Removing Barriers to Recycling program, it actually is, that program is projected out. We have an annual increase on it because we know it would change by CPI, but also by new or additional customers. Under this program, City Council has the authority to stop this program. But what that means is if City Council was to stop this program, is 100% of those charges now become chargeable back to the customers. Not retroactively, but it would begin. And we would need to provide our service providers 1 year notice for that. Talked a bit about organic service. We actually have I think it's almost 50% of our customers are technically compliant with SB 1383 because a large percentage of them have requested waivers. It was such a large number. We've not had the opportunity to go out and actually verify the conditions for the waiver. There's two types of waivers that are given. One is referred to as a de minimis waiver, and that's if they produce a very small amount of organics. And the other one is for a space waiver, if they simply don't have a space for an organics bin. Although we've granted the waivers based upon the waiver filed by the customer, we do know that when we go out and check these, a number of these customers will probably not fall within the actual term of the waivers. So just the importance of getting organics part of the system and not optional is crucial. So moving on back to the RFP now, is that in mid-2023, LA Sand provided an update to City Council on the program, went over a lot of the goals that I went over today, where we stand with the program, but also talked with them as far as the options we have moving forward. I listed 3 of them. There was actually a 4th one, and that's for LA Sand to take over. Well, there's a lot of work that has to be done for that to happen. When we presented the options to City Council, they approved us to move forward with 2 options. One was to sit down and try to negotiate a contract amendment with the RSPs to address the lessons learned, along with what would be an extension to the contract, but also authorize us to start the work on an RFP. So we immediately spun around and set up negotiation sessions with all of our RSPs. We negotiated with them for over 4 months. We had 3 separate meetings in person. We exchanged with the RSPs all of the terms that we needed to achieve through the negotiations. They responded back. Unfortunately, we were not able to come to terms on all of the key elements. So we did report that back to City Council. Then City Council gave us again reasserted the necessity to start a new RFP. So the new RFP maintains a lot of the same goals of the original program, as well as some of the key elements. We still have 11 franchise zones, the same 11 franchise zones that are set in the contract. 3 of those are designed, are smaller zones by both the number of customers and size. That was done to allow for basically waste haulers of all sizes to be able to compete in a request for proposal process. There will be a single waste hauler assigned to each zone, an exclusive franchise system for the collection of solid waste, recycling, and organics. But even more so, these contracts will address all of the lessons learned through the existing contract. So some of the key benefits that we see for our customers are what we anticipate as lower cost to customers through the elimination of access and distance fees. Right now, on just the Black Bin alone, we have over 17,000 customers paying Black Bin access fees, and almost 7,500 customers paying distance fees on Black Bins. Under this new program, all of those customers would only pay their base level of service. We're eliminating all overweight and overfilled bins, extra charges on those. We're removing all of the, I call the additional types of rate increases that the customer could be subject to. We're sticking with just the calculated indexed CPI with a cap of 5% with no rollover. We are limiting the amount of times that bins can be left on the street to 2 hours. So it's tight, but that was actually been one of the biggest things we've heard from our customers. And we're going to be bundling organics as part of the base level of service. So when a customer signs up for service, they will get a Black Bin, a blue bin, and a green bin for a set price for that level of service. That will immediately bring the city and our customers into compliance with the requirements of SB 1383 and put us on the right trajectory to reach our zero waste goals. Talked about bundled service, so benefits. There's a number of benefits to the city as we move through this program. Talked about compliance of SB 1383. That will bring the city itself into compliance and bring us out of the critical area of being considered non-compliant and subject to additional fees. We have the city has a goal of moving its entire fleet to zero emission vehicles, most of those being electric vehicles. But we know that there are challenges with those, and there's cost associated with that. little background is under new CARB rules, there were going to be requirements for the private sector collection fleets. But those requirements were not approved by the federal government. So there is not requirements from CARB on private sector, but that doesn't mean we can't include them. But to do that, we need to understand what that cost is and impact. So we're asking our proposals to provide two separate cost proposals. One is for the current near zero emission fleet, and another one for a fleet that is converted to electric over time. So we'll be able to move forward with informed information on the impacts. All service providers will have support to their local community through providing collection services at community events and cleanup events. And we will, of course, be continuing our food rescue efforts. In addition, I don't have it here. There is a requirement in the RFP for subcontracting of scout services. And that really came about as a challenge to LA Sand. We heard it in our initial request for proposal 10 years ago from our council members, and it rings true today still, that there is limited opportunity in this program for subcontracting. So this was designed in an effort to help move us towards additional subcontracting opportunities. So I am winding up here. So the term of the proposed in the proposed RFP is 8 years with 2 5-year renewal options, but with one nuance in that initial 8 years is that if a service provider meets their landfill reduction goals, their contracts will automatically be extended for 2 years. Making it a 10-year contract that will include the 2 5-year renewal options. We will still have 11 zones that can be awarded as a single zone or as a bundle zone. No proposer can be awarded more than 49% of the city, and the small zones cannot be awarded in a combination with the larger zones. And with that concludes a summary of the Recicla RFP. But I do have Paul Cobian, who's going to give a brief summary of the environmental documentation required for this project.
Thank you, Dan. Good morning. My name is Paul Cobian. I'm an environmental affairs officer with LA Sanitation. I had the responsibility of overseeing the CEQA environmental review for this release of this RFP, which was prepared by Catalyst Environmental Solutions. The release of the RFP is a discretionary action under CEQA. As such, the city is required to evaluate and consider potential environmental impacts before taking action. Those impacts were comprehensively analyzed in the program EIR that was certified by the city in 2014, which provided the environmental clearance for the rollout of Recicla in 2017. In accordance with CEQA guidelines, we conducted a consistency review. It was finalized on September 4th, 2025, and as addendum number 3 to the 2013 program EIR. It's also included as transmittal 2 of this board report. This review examined the proposed modifications to the franchise system that we refer to as Recicla, and it was confirmed that they remain within the scope of what was originally analyzed in 2013. As Dan had already mentioned, the franchise zones, the single hauler framework remain the same. There's no new routes or infrastructure that's being proposed. Vehicle technologies are unchanged, and organics collection under SB 1383 has been part of the CEQA baseline since 2020. Based on this analysis, we have concluded that the proposed RFP does not create any new or more severe environmental impacts. Therefore, no additional CEQA considerations, therefore no additional CEQA documentation is required, and the city may rely on the certified 2013 program EIR and addendum number 3 for approval of distributing and advertising this RFP.
Good morning, Commissioners. Barbara Romero, Director and General Manager. I just wanted to put a little color and context to one piece of what we're including in this RFP that wasn't in there before. When negotiations were happening in the initial recycler contracts, one of the things that council members, we went from 140 permit haulers to 7. And out of those 100 permit haulers before 2017, there's a top 15 who handled most of the market share. So when you look at it in that way, and those 7 haulers in this program, now they all have labor peace agreements. So and I don't know if they did before, but I know that they do now. And so when we're looking, when we were looking at 2.0, and so a lot of the questions that we were asked by council members, how come this massive $750 million contract not have more small business opportunities? And so when we were looking at ways in this contract to provide opportunities for smaller haulers or smaller opportunities to participate in the program, we look at the Scout program, and out of the $750 million contract, there's probably, it's probably around 25 to 35 million that would go into the scouting portion of this contract, this new contract. So that's what, you know, under what, 2%? Is that? Yeah, you know, it's very small. So when we're talking, I just wanted to put that into context. And that this new contract with all the Scout service would still be under the same labor peace agreement contract because it still exists. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew that we included this to allow more people to participate in this endeavor when you look at it. And secondly, I think what we need to look at, and you know, that's something while we go through this contract, if you move forward with it, it's, you know, there's a 60-day deadline that I would like to get more information on how many drivers did each of the haulers, of the 7 haulers, add to their service, because they all had more, they got more work in the city of Los Angeles. So how many new drivers do we have in the system today than we did? Not just look at what potentially looking at, and also we didn't have organics as a requirement in the base rate, which means if some people think that those Scout drivers are not going to be working, they could be reassigned to organics work. So I think we need to allow this process to happen. And what I ask for you, and I ask you know, every participant that wants to participate in this process, please provide us with specific information on how we can improve the operations in the system, this 2.0 system, to provide a better service to our customers, because inevitably Recicla customers, but there are customers, and we're hearing firsthand from them. So that's the intent here, and we want to make sure that not only do we hear specifically operationally, not just about the program that it was, because again, if we look at when we started in 2017, there was 140 permit haulers. We're down to 7. So when we're talking about these last 7 years, let's talk about why we did that, go from 140 to 7. And even then, you know, some haulers took over some of the zones that in 2017 they didn't have. So this is the next iteration. So there's a lot of time to ask questions, to look at, to consider. But I think it's important for us to follow the direction of council and see what the market can, you know, this is an opportunity to get other perspectives, other bidders, and then get lessons learned, quite frankly, from the haulers that are currently operating our system today. Because it is important to hear that we're all better informed than we were, you know, since 2017. So I just ask you for your consideration to move this RFP forward and open it up to the market. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Before we get into questions, I would like to offer an opportunity for the public who submitted speaker cards to come before and provide your 1-minute public comment on item number 8. For those of you who haven't filled out your speaker cards, you're more than welcome to do so. They're located at the back of this room, and you're only right now permitted to speak on item number 8. And I'll call the first 3 speakers if you can start lining up to facilitate. First speaker in person is Adan Alvarez, and then second is Susan Gutierrez, and then third is Rosa Juarez. So first we have Adan.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. My name is Adan Alvarez with Teamsters Local 396, representing the frontline sanitation and recycling workers who keep Los Angeles clean and sustainable. I'm here to urge you to reject proposed modification to the Recicla franchise that would expand subcontracted scout services. When Recicla was created, the goal was accountability, sustainability, and good jobs. Expanding scout subcontracting undermines that vision. These are often low-wage, less-trained subcontractors with little oversight. Increasing their role risks service quality, public safety, and the dignity of stable jobs that families rely on. Los Angeles has invested too much progress to move backwards. The path forward is strengthening Recicla, not weakening it. We ask you to stand with working families and protect the integrity of the program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, Susan Gutierrez. And then the third is Rosa Juarez.
Hello, good morning, Commissioners. I'm here.
If you can speak into the mic, would be appreciated.
Okay, can you hear me now? Good morning. Okay, good morning. I'm here to encourage you to vote yes on agenda item 8. It's time for us to fix this issue we're having with the charge that we're having for our service. I feel that we get poor service for the amount of money that we're getting charged, and I feel like we should open up the market to this competition so we could get better services. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is Rosa Juarez. And following that is Robert Dominguez.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Rosa Juarez. I support Agenda Item 8 and urge you to release the request for proposals for waste hauling services. Current haulers are too costly and services needs improvement. We need providers who listen to customers and offer better value. Let the current companies apply again, and maybe this time they can lower the prices. Competition is a good thing. Please vote yes on Agenda number 8. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Robert Dominguez, followed by
Good morning,
Marie
Commissioner.
Macias.
Hello. My name is Robert Dominguez. I argue to vote yes on agenda item 8. Current trash services providers are overpriced and offer bad service. Opening up competition will help us find better, more affordable prices, opinions. Also, we need companies that can be more friendly to the environment and to allow us to recycle our waste in a better way. I'm all for getting new companies in Los Angeles or let the existing companies apply again, but with better prices and better service. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is Marie, followed by Angelica.
Good morning,
Crisito.
Commissioners. My name is Marie Macias, and I support agenda item number 8 and urge you to release the request for proposals for waste hauling services. Current haulers are too expensive, and we need improved services and pricing. It's time to stop all the bad services and pricing gouging. We also need haulers that are going to listen to us, the customers, and provide us with better services. Please vote yes on agenda item number 8. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, Angelica P.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Angelica Prieto, and I'm here to encourage you to vote on agenda item 8. It's time to fix the problems with the current companies providing trash services. They charge way too much. They provide services that can be much better, and they seem to have forgotten that we are the customers. Let's open the competition and get trash companies starting. I also want to ask, why is it that the services are on lower communities are higher than the wealthy communities? I have seen that in firsthand. I did a lot of contracts when the Recicla started, so that's how I know. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is Mary Martinez, followed by Gina Volono. Mary M. Oh, that was it. Thank you. Gina Volono.
I took the long way, sorry. My name is Mary Martinez, and I recommend considering a yes vote on agenda item 8. Current trash service providers have been noted for higher prices and concerns about service quality. Allowing for increased competition may provide more affordable and effective service. Additionally, it would be beneficial to engage companies with stronger commitments to environmental sustainability and improved recycling opportunities. Both new companies and existing providers should participate, provided they offer competitive pricing and enhanced services. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is Gina V.
Hello, good morning. My name is Gina Volono. I'm here with LA Compost, and I'm here to speak on agenda item number 8 and want to express appreciation for the inclusion of community composting to LA San and Recicla for including that in the contract. As a nonprofit based in Los Angeles County, we acknowledge the importance of community engagement in organics processing, and so we are very excited for the opportunity to participate in this contract. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Knight, do we have any virtual speakers on item number 8?
Let me double check, President Kang. We have no hands raised and we have no single item commenters on the virtual platform.
All right, last call for public comment on item number 8. All right, seeing none, we'll move to Commissioner deliberations. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments to our staff? So if Daniel, if you want to come back up to the podium. Thank you. All right. By the way, before we get into some of our questions, did you want to address some of the comments that you heard from from public comment?
No, at this point in time, I do think the release of the RFP is the best path forward. So. Oh. Okay, sorry.
Please identify
Good
yourself as
morning.
well.
Alex Hello, Assistant General Manager for LA Sanitation and Environment. First, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to address this one. For the people who came up today and expressed concern about the level of service, we want them to reach out to us right away. We would be in the back with my staff, take their name, because our entire Recicla program is premised on providing excellent customer service. We have over 99.99% delivery. So I really apologize for them if they have been receiving not great service. We do have in the existing contracts liquidated damages. If somebody does not provide a service, we reach out directly to the Recicla service provider and we try to address them. So I just want to make sure that what we are seeing, and we have a free 1-800-773-2489. It's a phone system available 24/7, and we try to resolve all of them within 24 hours. And one of the beauty of the new, and this is for our customers, one of the beauty of the new Recicla 2.0 is that if there is a liquidated damages for bad service, they get the money. So they get recovery back. Right now, the system is the city keeps the money. That money now is going to go back to the people who are paying it and who are suffering from that service. Again, I want to apologize on behalf of the Bureau of Sanitation. We were not aware. We will address those concerns immediately. And available, our 1-800-773-2489 website is available to them. I just want to make sure we address this one. And I think our Director, Barbara Romero, addressed really the subcontracting opportunities, which was brought up by the first speaker. It's really important for us to really, this is a $750 million program. It's important to us to offer minority, women, business veterans opportunity to be part of this program. And that's why all the Recicla RFPs or proposers will have to go through the BIP program, the Business Inclusion Program. They have to make a good faith effort to reach out to the people, get input, bring as many into this fold. Again, it's a huge contract, but also service and zero waste are our top goals here. And thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, any questions or comments? President Pro Tem Grant.
I want to thank LA San Barbara and especially Dan. I mean, the work you've put into this has been impressive. And you, Dan, especially, I'm not the quickest study, but your patience sort of answering my questions through the week and over the weekend, I appreciate that. But as things settle, more questions arose, so I have a number of them on two areas. One is the question of subcontracting, and the second one is the labor peace agreement. I have four questions around the subcontracting. First is, you had remarked that this RFP is designed to move us towards mandatory subcontracting, but it's actually going to be mandatory. It's not moving us, it will be mandatory. Is that correct? The subcontracting of the scouts?
So as the RFP is written right now, the scout service is a mandatory RFP, is a mandatory subcontracting element. Okay. So not optional, but mandatory.
Right.
As it's currently written.
And do we have any idea if there's an existing universe of entities that can provide the scout services?
So
now, are there any in existence right now?
So we know there are companies out there that do provide this type of valet type service for customers, but also scouting service is a part of the waste hauling industry. If there is a waste hauler that is operating as for commercial or multifamily collection, they are running scout trucks also. So yes, and there is a large pool of waste haulers that operate outside of the city of Los Angeles that have scouting as part of their business model. Their business model is scouting for their own customers, but one that can be expanded. And that's why we looked at it as opening the pool up. It's actually not just this small niche group of people providing scouting service. It's most waste hauling companies that are in operation.
But they normally are attendant to a larger waste hauler. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, say that
Are they
again?
normally attendant part of a larger waste hauler, part of their scout service as part of their normal RSP, as a normal RSP? They're actually sort of part of that.
So yes, so for most waste hauling operations, that scouting service is done by that waste hauler. So the waste hauler doing collection is doing the scouting.
And if no subcontractors apply for one of the 11 districts, what will happen in that instance?
If there were no identified subcontractors,
Yes.
I actually don't know. I would imagine there's subcontractors. There are the opportunities out there for subcontractors.
The other question on this subject is a concern I have, and you may not be able to answer this, but if there's a collective bargaining agreement with the RSP that provides there shall be no subcontracting, in that instance, does the collective bargaining agreement, would that extend to the scout as well, or what would happen in that instance?
So I am not aware. We stay at arm's length from
Right.
collective bargaining agreements. So I'm not aware of the details of what's covered under their collective bargaining agreements and how work moves around.
No, and I
within
don't
their
expect
sectors.
you, I mean, legal authorities better than both of us combined will answer. I'm just worried about that conflict and that difficulty, because actually having negotiated collective bargaining agreements sort of know that in fact, when you put in a mandatory no subcontracting, one, it's generally pretty ironclad. Two, it covers any entity in the normal course of business.
Barbara Romero, director here. Commissioner Grant, I think I see what you're concerned with. So you know how you have a lot of construction contracts come before you?
Right.
Sometimes you see somebody come in as the prime and then others as sub, depending on the job. It happens all the time. And so in this situation, and everybody has to, depending on the contract and the requirements, this is a city contract and this is a requirement. So any notion that, any concern that you would have, I think it would expand the opportunities for additional labor peace agreements. It would enhance the opportunities of smaller haulers, scout services that weren't in the system. So I think this is an opportunity for, additional agreements that we wouldn't be part of. But I think that concern is I don't know if it should be as high concern as you're contemplating, because I hear where you're going. But if it's one of our programs or one of our construction jobs, we have BCA overseeing this contract as well. So all the proper enforcements will be taking place, and our contracting group would be ensuring that whatever we have like we have in these past in this past contract, or this existing contract, I should say, that we've been doing our part and working with the haulers to ensure they're meeting their requirements within the contract.
And then the last area is similarly, I'm not quite sure the answer to this either, but I'm understanding from several sources that in the current labor peace agreement, it's wanting in the sense that obviously when you have a labor peace agreement, the idea is that there shall be no interruptions in the work, that the union shall refrain from job actions, boycotts, et cetera. The company shall refrain from unfair labor practices, lockouts, et cetera. The idea is that and the means by which one attains that labor peace is through mediation and then arbitration. The concern that's been raised with me is that in the current arrangement, I'm not quite sure yet because I haven't got an answer, is that that option of going to arbitration to resolve disputes has only been open to management, and it's not been open to the workers, which on the face of it cuts against the whole idea of labor peace, because having negotiated several labor peace agreements, my experience is 99% of the time, it's the workers that wanted to push it further to mediation arbitration, because there's the one that had the issue. It wasn't management. So to reserve that right only to management seems to, in fact, defeat the whole purpose of a labor peace agreement. I don't know if you've had any understanding of that issue, but I just want to raise that for myself. It's very concerning around this issue.
Well, thank you. I do recognize and understand that the question, but again, we stay out of deliberately out of the terms of the collective bargaining agreements. You know, those terms, how they exist for binding arbitration and who can do it and who can't. Those are terms that we stand back from. It is only the requirement of a signed labor peace agreement between the company and any labor organization that wishes to represent their employees. So I don't know that I would ever be able to answer that question in that detail. No, this is fine. This is the process.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Cardenas.
Yeah, just want to delve a little deeper into the scouting program. To your knowledge, the current contract, none of the 7 haulers have subs doing any of their scouting?
To my knowledge, none of them have subcontractors.
So it'll be 100% a new program.
It's 100% within their own business.
All right, thank you.
Vice President Chavez.
Yes, thank you. Well, I think it's important to remember what are goals here, right? What are the goals of the program? What were the policy goals instituted by the city when this program was first approved? We're trying to get to diversion. We're trying to improve customer service. We're trying to do it in a way that is cost effective to customers. And, you know, I appreciate all of the discussion surrounding customer service and that's a real big priority. And I appreciate that. But with that being said, when you look at the draft RFP, customer service is 10% of the evaluation criteria, while cost is 40%. And I know that cost is a big issue for the city council as well. What's this actually going to cost? You know, in our short time here on the board, we've seen the increase in costs. Everything is going up. Labor costs, you know, the cost of sending things for recycling, you know, the changes in the market for that. All of this has increased, as we've seen on the residential side. And so I noticed a absence in any kind of rate information, rate study as part of the report. And I wanted to get a little bit more information about what analysis has been done regarding what this is going to mean in terms of rates.
So certainly, so for the last part of the question, in terms of rates, under a contract we have with Jacobs, and a firm that was approved through a task order solicitation. They have hired, they did bring on a company called HF&H. This company solely provides service to municipalities in developing of RFPs, analyzing rates, as well as just solid waste structure analysis. They did an analysis for us and they surveyed all the cities in the county. And as part of that survey, they were able to gather information from 55 different cities in the county that all have exclusive franchise agreements. And we were able to look at a standardized level of service, because rates are all over the place. You have to standardize a service to be able to compare. When we did that comparison, what we found is we looked at a 3-yard solid waste bin, a 2-yard recycling bin, and I believe a 64-gallon organics bin. And the cost for that service in the city of Los Angeles was $440 under the existing contracts. If you looked at the 55 cities, the average among those 55 cities was about $290 for that service. Wait a minute, it's 400. I think it's 440 and 390. So the city is currently above the average of those 55 cities. So not a lot above that. There were a number of cities with rates higher, and quite a few cities with rates lower countywide. So we did have analysis done when we looked at rates throughout the entire county.
And within that analysis, did you look at zone-specific projections as well? Given that, you know, a city as a whole average is one thing, but, you know, the zones are very, very different from each other in terms of, you know, density and complexity, you know, more organics versus less organics, et cetera.
So no, we did not look at the different costs associated with it. When we between the different zones, when we established the program initially, and that was part of our initial goals, was to establish uniform rates citywide. So that a business in one area of the city was not paying a higher rate for the same level of service than a business in a different area of the city. Now, they might have distinctly different requirements, but when you look at just the same rate for the same level of service, then that rate is uniform throughout the city.
Do you feel as though that's sufficient to provide, for, you know, for the city to be able to say, okay, this is what we believe is the market benchmarking for what this should cost? Or are we just going to rely on getting the bids back and use that competitive bidding process to see where the rates end up?
So in addition to the effort that was done looking at the rates citywide, Jacobs themselves had their solid waste experts that do rate setting in other cities and rate analysis for other cities, look at the makeup of the city, the cost of operating in the city, and what they found is that when we looked at a projected level of service, in this case it was actually a 3-yard black, 3-yard blue, and 96-gallon green, that the rates that should come back, looking at all the factors, were slightly lower than the current rates. That doesn't mean that that's what the bids are going to come in at, but that was the analysis that they came up with. The smaller 96s were a little bit higher. The 3-yard bin was slightly lower. And I don't want to stand here and say people's rates are going to go down. Don't have that crystal ball. But more than that is that we've got 60 8% of our customers that are not subscribed and not paying for organics right now, those rates will most likely go up under the current program because it's a significant service that they're not subscribed to.
I have more questions, but I can let someone else go. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to ask about is the organics, just the compliance. I know you mentioned we're at 50% technically, and that's because of the waivers, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I saw that you've approved or received and approved 12,000 waivers. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Correct. So out of 66, that's about 20%. Are we expecting that? I mean, tell me more about that. I mean, is that essentially convenience? Are these legitimate waivers? You know, are we planning that rate of waiver requests to continue into the new franchise?
So we do see the waivers moving forward into the next version of the franchise because there is to tell a customer that absolutely has no place for a 3-yard bin that they're subject to fines or penalties for not having that 3-yard bin on site. We don't want to put ourselves in that place. But the other part of that is I believe that our number of waivers that are going to wind up being verified, approved, as we move forward is going to be just a fraction of that 12,000. I know that there's apartment buildings that have requested a de minimis waiver. We don't have a 10-unit apartment building that produces less than 20 gallons of organics per week. So we know we're going to be moving people into an organic service. That movement will be easier and more straightforward because it won't come out of a movement of cost. It's a movement of necessity. It'll be part of their base level of service. So that movement will be much easier. We've been trying to get this program put together and out to continue to inform Cal Recycle that we're on the right track and we're going to get there without breaking out the penalty phase for a large percentage of our customers.
I mean, I understand your point of maybe cost won't be as much of an issue, but it's still going to be an issue because we don't really know what the reasons are, right? Has there been any kind of detailed analysis done about the, economic impacts of organic waste collection on the business side? Because there's a lot of other reasons other than just the fee that they're paying.
So a couple things. I mean, we did put together an incentive program that we made available to multifamily customers that we identified in being in HUD district areas, boundaries. We identified, a certain percent of customers that were in areas that were below a certain threshold of the poverty line. We did offer a incentive program where we would pay for up to 9 months of the organics. And I believe we had over 2,000 customers that we identified. None of the customers opted into that program. So we have looked at this, but also the state does not, so that the 2 waivers that we gave that were implemented are the only 2 waivers that are allowed by the state. The state does not allow for waivers for low income. There's no economic threshold the state has. It is an absolute requirement unless those 2 categories are met.
Commissioner Chavez, you have a great question. If I can add a couple more points to clarify, we have no choice. We are obligated to implement the organics program. One of the largest landfill in LA County is on fire, was shut down, right? The next one, Sunshine Canyon, which we utilize on a daily basis. Just 2 weeks ago, the South Coast AQMD had a hearing about the emissions coming out from Sunshine Canyon and impacting city residents. The city residents who live around it have asked for the landfill to be shut down. One of the reasons why AQMD agreed to keep Sunshine continuing is the city of Los Angeles is required to remove all organic material out of the landfill, because organic material is the material that breaks down and emit the CO2, the other chemicals, the greenhouse gas, and destroy. So we have bigger problem if AQMD 2 weeks ago shut down Sunshine. We will have no place for our 3,600 tons a day of trash. Out of the 3,600 tons in sanitation, we've done a great job doing organics, providing the green bin. On the commercial side, we still have a lot of places we can improve on and take that food waste, not only food waste, but also organic. For example, right now, if you look at the Recycla truck, Apre, you see a pizza box which has cheese on it. And we tell our residents that box goes in the trash, does not go in the recycling. Under the SB 1383, that same greasy box will go into the green bin. So we as a city have no choice at this point of time but to implement organics program. If we decide to defy the state and not implement the program, we will be subject to $10,000 a day. That's why every other city around us has either been fined or basically under compliance. We have been working with Cairo Recycle every single month, trying to explain to them Recycla 2.0 is coming. We will have it as part of the bundle service. So people don't have to make that choice. They will have the green, they'll have the blue, and they have the black. And per South Coast AQMD study that just again published 2 weeks ago, out of the commercial establishment, there is about 50% organics could be removed from the black into the green. So at this point of time, I think we as a city have to step up and say we no longer want to dump our organics, affecting other city residents, right? Sunshine Canyon people will be out here telling you, shut it down. And so that's why we need to do this one. Also want to touch quickly on the LPA. There was a strike in Boston. We have a labor peace agreement, which we're very proud of. However, we were impacted because in Orange County was 5 days shut down, trash was piling up. Boston, you see in the pictures. For us, the LPA helped us. We were only affected by 2 days by one of the haulers. And people were complaining. We dispatched sanitation staff to clean up some of the mess that's left behind. And I can tell you, I was out there with our staff. They were coming out and thanking sanitation for stepping in. So LPA is very important, whether it's using the hauling, whether it's the scout trucks, those are very crucial to us. And we will work with the city attorney on the proper language that's needed to make sure it's very tight. As for haulers, yes, there are some haulers who do provide that as a service. And I think it will encourage people to, especially veterans, women, minority, to go into a field that has been closed for so long. But again, we leave it at discretion of the board, and thank you.
I mean, Alex, you missed my point. I understand we're under a state mandate. My questions are more about if we don't fully understand why so many people are asking for waivers, or why we're not getting more compliance, we're not going to be able to get to the root of the problem. Like, we can do and ask people to do things all day long, but we are mandated, but the end user is not. So that's where in lies the problem. We're trying to use other tools in order to increase that compliance. And I'm just trying to get to, do we have more information, more analysis that's going to help us use or change our tools, use better tools, use different tools in order to increase that? How are we going to, we're already making people pay for this. Presumably, we're going to be trying something a little bit different because, you know, the saying goes like, you know, if all you have is a hammer, soon everything looks like a nail. You know, at this point, we need other tools. in order to get to our end goals. Because like you said, we're running out of time here.
You're right. And the tool we're using is exactly what other cities have done. We didn't do it because we had a contract in place. For example, we're not doing anything new that hasn't been done in other cities. So when SB 1383 was implemented, other cities, for example, San Diego, they got all their haulers and said, we need to do this program. So they kind of implemented as part of a bundle or part of a program. We did not do it because we said we have an existing contract. So it does cost more for organics. We know we generate 1,600 tons a day. So we know it costs more money. But other cities who successfully implemented the program from Santa Monica to San Diego, what they've done, they made it part of a program, not like we have it right now, which is you have to subscribe to it. But if you get it as free, like you get the Blue Bin, more people subscribe to it. That's what we notice in other cities, and we're trying basically copy them. So it's not like hasn't been done. Sorry.
If we reach 90% compliance, do we have the infrastructure to process all of that right now?
We paid for it.
Yeah, we're already paying for that. So Commissioner Chavez, you asked about, we don't know the information. We do know why they're not subscribing is because they have to pay more. So the way I look at it is the way we're restructuring it is that it's a bundled rate. And so that they're going to get it whether they use it or not. It's kind of like, cable, do you watch, National Geographic you pay for it in your base rate. Do you use it? No, but right now we're saying you have to pay for the NFL package if you want it, and the Sunday NFL package, which is a lot. So people say, no, I don't want it. I don't need it. So the haulers are having a hard time getting the customers to sign up to something that is too expensive for them to do it. So that's why we need to restructure it so that it is the base, so it's included in their base rate, and whether they have the spacing or they use it, it's structured so that we meet our compliance. And then the second thing that you talked about, why is 40% for pricing? Because that's the number one thing that for customer satisfaction that we heard, that pricing is, they cannot afford it. So that's why price, that number is so high. And, because for us, that is where customer service should be, is where we heard is the biggest dissatisfaction with the existing program today. Not with all the, a lot of the goals that we have met, but at a price.
All right, moving things along. I know many of my colleagues answered my question, but I did have something related to, as a Recicla customer, I do relate to many of the lessons learned. And thank you for addressing a lot of those issues. In terms of eliminating the overfilled and overweight fees, so I do understand that whether it's a boxing issue where customers are not folding their boxes right, our building has struggled with that as well. But in terms of, I could see that for the customer, this is a very key benefit. But for the haulers, is there a limit to where if somebody abuses that elimination, at what point can haulers charge a fee, or is it a sort of there's no option of that sort?
So there's two elements. One's overfilled and one's overweight. The overweight is the most crucial of the two. And the way the contracts will be set up is that if a bin is truly overweight, and when I say truly overweight, really what that means is that the collection worker cannot physically move the bin to the location it needs to be placed in, that bin will not be collected. And that's very important. Safety is key in Recicla. So they won't be able to charge the customer a fee for that overfilled bin, but they won't have to collect it either. And the customer would have to, if they want that bin collected, have to unload that the overweight material out of that bin and then pay for the hauler to return to collect it. So that's the most critical of those two. Overfilled bins is again, it's more difficult because of the differences of what actually is considered an overfilled bin. There is the point where LA San can also be involved in that. If we wind up with our RSP reporting to us that every time they go out to the bin, there's, it's piled up with bags on the side. We can send one of our inspectors out, and the LA Municipal Code requires that a customer have sufficient service. So we can use that route for enforcement also. But at that point in time, we're now bringing us into that fold, not just a lid shutting or not. So we'll cover both the abuses of overfilled and overweight and those two scenarios.
Okay. And then my last question is related to fleet electrification. Can you remind me, was there a sort of a timeline or a metric that we're going to be using to make sure that either these fleets are all electric or near zero emission in our next round?
So there's two paths that will follow. One of two paths will follow. When we get the proposals in, we'll do some looking at them to see the direction that's feasible for the city to move in, and we'll only move in one of those two directions. So it'll either be the new zero emission vehicles that they have now, or fleet electrification. If we move in the direction of fleet electrification, what we've told them is that they will follow the same schedule that the city, that LA San follows for their basically transition to fleet electrification. CARB rules, which don't apply to them but still apply to us for fleet electrification. They gave you two options for compliance. The option that LA San chose is the ZEV milestone option, where a certain percentage of your fleet is converted to electric vehicles over a certain set time period. So we're asking them to, well, that's the proposal we asked them for, was based upon that model. So it will depend upon which model that we're moving in.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, any last minute comments or questions? Last questions from VP Chavez.
Yes, also to tell me what kind of outreach was done with this draft RFP. I know it got posted on Thursday. Had it been shared with stakeholders previously? The haulers, labor, customers? Did you get input in, tell me about the input that you got in preparation for this.
The RFP is not shared before it's posted. So it's got posted on the agenda last week, and it will hopefully be uploaded to RAMP upon board approval. We have a consultant on board that is going to be going out. They're working with the council offices. They're going to be working with this board office to identify the community groups, be it business associations, community groups, other groups, and engaging those groups. They'll be going through a presentation on what the Recicla program is, the RFP, the proposal on the street, and they'll be continuing to gather information from them. We have the opportunity. Sorry. Oh, thank you, Barbara. As Barbara reminded me, we have met on a number of occasions with all of our council offices to gather their input. So as the RFP moves forward, we'll, you know, and months from now, we'll get proposals back in. And in the meantime, we'll be continuing this outreach effort of communication with our community groups. And once the RFP, the proposals come in, we're not done. We're not even close to done. Go through evaluations based upon the proposal, the RFP, the way it's set up, and then negotiations. So if we learn things through the process that we need to include or tweak, that through our outreach efforts, there's the opportunity to do that. The RFP lays the groundwork of how the program is going to be put together as its major elements. So we have that opportunity. Also, I wanted to go back, so I'm glad you opened it back up, to go back to the question you asked in terms of what have we done to find out why people aren't participating in organics. Just wanted to add a little bit to that. We also have, we've brought a consultant on board, a lot of consultants on board to assist us. And what they've done and what they're doing is they're going out to businesses. They've started with restaurants, and then we'll continue this effort. And they're talking with each restaurant that's not participating, and they have a survey that they go through to specifically ask them, why are they not participating? What are the hurdles that they're encountering? Is it cost? Is it knowledge of the program? Is it space? Is it other items? Is it just a yuck factor? Whatever those different factors are, they're gathering those through a survey. I'd be happy to share the results that we found so far from those restaurants, but it's specifically asking the questions of what are the issues that are keeping you from subscribing to organics. We're to continue that. Also, from an outreach and education standpoint, our service providers in the next version of this will be responsible for working with the customers on contamination reduction, but the city, LA San, is taking on the responsibility and role of the city-wide outreach on collection as a whole, solid waste, recyclables, organics. So that's being brought on board. It's going to be funded through the Recycle administration fee. So there'll be funding for that. It won't be something we have to scrap for. It will be built into the program, and we will take on that role as the educator, the outreach for this program.
All right, thank you very much. I would like to kind of wrap discussion on this item number 8, and then if there are no major concerns or discussions, ask for either a first and a second.
So moved.
First by Commissioner Cardenas, seconded by Commissioner Mitchell.
Thank you, President King. We'll go ahead and take a roll call vote on approval of item 8, starting with you, President King.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant.
No.
Commissioner Mitchell. And Commissioner Cardenas.
Aye.
It is 4 ayes and 1 no, and the item passes and will be adopted and will move forward forthwith.
Thank you very much. Moving forward back to item number 1 for Council District 1 and 14 for TAS, ED 21-051, Rincon Consultant. Before you get started, if I can ask to take a 2-minute recess for a bio break. Yeah.
I know.
All right, folks, if we could get started once again. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. We'll go back to item number 1, but before that, Mr. Knight, if you could help reestablish quorum.
Yes, thank you, President King. We have President King, Vice President Chavez, President Pro Tem Grant, Commissioner Mitchell, and Commissioner Cardenas present. I'm TJ Knight, and we are also joined by City Attorney Representative Thomas Costello Vega. It is now 11:54.
Thank you very much. Back to item number 1.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and staff. My name is Christian Centeno. I'm an environmental supervisor with the Bureau of Engineering in the Environmental Management Division, and I'm the project manager for the environmental review of this project, which is titled the Lincoln Park Neighborhood Green Street Network Project. This board report seeks to issue a task order solicitation to Recon Consultants to provide environmental documentation for the project. This project is a safe clean water project that is proposed by LA Sanitation and in collaboration with the Bureau of Engineering and the Department of Recreation and Parks. The project is it's a regional multi-benefit stormwater project in the Lincoln Park neighborhood, The project objectives are to improve the water quality in the upper Los Angeles River, to meet the regulatory standards, and to improve the lake water quality of MacArthur Lake, and also to beautify the park and the neighborhood. I'm going to go into a little bit of the project description. The project is broken up into 2 parts, 2 elements. The first is the rehabilitation of Lincoln Park, and the second are the improvements to, or rather, stormwater infrastructure improvements within the Lincoln Park neighborhood. In regards to the rehabilitation of Lincoln Park, there will be in-lake improvements as well as park improvements. For the in-lake improvements, the project will be removing excess sediment and debris from the bottom of the lake, as well as the buildup of biological materials such as phosphorus. This buildup will be, or this removal of excess debris and sediment will be performed through the lowering of the lake volume and then doing lake dredging. There's also will be a installation of a system of aerators, which will introduce oxygen into the lake and also increase the circulation of the lake increase the circulation of the lake. With the removal of the sediment and debris from the bottom of the lake and the introduction of aerators, this will improve the water quality of MacArthur Lake. In terms of park improvements, the proposed project will also install bioswales and infiltration basins. This will divert a portion of stormwater flows within the park and allow the removal of pollutants, and then the stormwater will then re-enter the lake. There will also be improvements to the landscaping and also the lake edge, and also the rebuilding of the lake edge, because some of the lake edge is also deteriorating and going into the water. In terms of the Green Street networks, the project will be installing 42 dry wells in the Lincoln Park neighborhood, and also 172 new tree wells within the neighborhood as well. In regards to the task order solicitation, again, we are proposing to issue a task order solicitation to the consultant to provide environmental documentation for the project. This includes the preparation of technical studies such as air quality and greenhouse gas assessments, biological resource assessments, as well as water and hydrology assessments, among other technical studies. This will inform the environmental documentation, which will be in compliance with the California Environmental Protection Act, named as, or also known as CEQA. It is anticipated that the documentation will be an environmental impact report, and we are prepared to, as part of this task, to prepare that documentation. There are a few areas of concern for this project. The potential areas of concern have to deal with the construction of the dry wells within the Lincoln Park neighborhood. The location of the dry wells are within a residential and industrial zone area, and there are what we call sensitive receptors, which are family residences, also schools and parks and churches. Due to these sensitive receptors, we do anticipate that there will be noise and vibration issues in regards to the project. Other potential issues are related to biological resources. As part of the lowering of the lake, there may be a displacement of wildlife in the park, and this will require a wildlife relocation plan that this task is also anticipated of producing. In terms of funding, the project will be funded by Measure W, Safe Clean Water Regional Projects. This task order solicitation will amount to approximately $704,000, including contingency. The project is still in pre-design, and we anticipate design to be complete in early 2027, as well as the environmental review in the same timeframe. The project construction will begin in fall of 2027 and into early 2030. Or sorry, 2030. I'll take any comments.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Cardenas.
Yeah, thank you for that. Question, you said the lowering of the lake level. How much are we lowering it? I don't know, feet or percentage? How much are we lowering the level in the lake?
We don't, in the pre-design, we don't have an amount percentage at this point because there hasn't been a feasibility study done on the amount of water that will need to be lowered. And that has to be confirmed at a later date, unfortunately.
So we have no idea right now how much it's going to go down?
What would you know? I have the project design team here. You're asking what the percent of lowering, the percent amount of volume that's going to be lowered during the dredging?
Dredging, I think they're using the barge system, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. That's something that still need to be. Sorry. Yeah, that's something we still need to be determined. We are still in pre-design, so that would be going through the design and figure out exactly how much water need to be lower.
So, to be determined.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Related to that question, if the Bureau could circle back with Commissioner Cardenas once that has been determined?
Yes, understood.
Actually, if the project manager, if you would mind emailing me, I'll circulate it to all commissioners once that's been determined.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Seeing no other comments or questions, is there a first and a second?
Second.
First by Commissioner Mitchell, seconded by President Pro Tem Grant.
Very well. We'll go ahead and take a roll call vote on approval of item 1, starting with you, President Kang.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant.
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell. And Commissioner Cardenas.
Aye.
All ayes, and item 1 is adopted, and we'll move forward forthwith.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 2 for Council District 11, change order number 2, Keller North America.
Good morning, Mr. President, fellow commissioners and bureau heads. I'm Mike.
If you can raise the mic a little bit, thank you very much.
Yes, I'm Mike Mulhern with the Bureau of Engineering Geotechnical Services. This site is in the Pacific Palisades, and fortunately it was finished just before the tragic fire. It's just inland of Will Rogers State Beach off of Temescal Canyon. There were a number of historic landslides that have made the soils very weak and unstable out there, including under Sillamar. And there were a lot of times when the Bureau of Street Services had to repave the site. So we decided to bring in a well-known consultant, Keller North America, who is an expert in soil stabilization. It was a very large and technically interesting project, and that's one reason we'll get to the large contingency we had. But basically, the oversight committee allowed us a very healthy contingency due to the fact that this large a scale of soil mixing has not been done in the city. It basically involved 346 piles we drilled down to 90 foot deep, about 4.5 feet wide, and mixed cement with those, and that solidified and stabilized the soil. So not only were we addressing the landslide area for the residents, but we were able to reconstruct 30,000 square feet of roadway and new gutters. Basically, the board approved an amount of $6,643,788.25 plus a large contingency. And we only ended up using about $5,954,389.87. So that leaves a credit to the city of $689,398.28. Basically, the project just went better than we expected. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much. Commissioners, any questions or comments on item number 2? All right, seeing none, is there a first and a second?
So move.
First by President Pro Tem Grant, seconded by Commissioner Mitchell.
Very well. We'll go ahead and take a roll call vote on approval of item 2, starting with you, President Kang.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant. Commissioner Mitchell. And Commissioner Cardenas?
Aye.
All ayes. Item 2 is adopted and will move forward forthwith.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 3 for Council District 1, revised task order solicitation number 1-012B.
This project is one of our underground tank remediation projects where we're addressing soil and groundwater contamination due to previous leaks. The tanks have been removed. In fact, we did a large amount of groundwater remediation using injection of a oxidizing compound. It's basically looked like toothpaste that we injected several years ago and got the groundwater almost to case closure. By the way, this site is right next to Fig Towers. It's downtown and across from the Water and Power headquarters, in case you're wondering. We were dealing with the Regional Water Quality Control Board as our regulator. They were happy with the groundwater, but because it's a very sensitive site, the firemen sometimes are there 24 hours a day for long shifts. They requested soil gas surveys, and we provided those. And we found some slightly elevated levels of volatile organics from the previous gasoline leaks. And we also believe there's a slight contribution from a kind of a rogue off-source site, probably an old dry cleaner that's been out of business a number of years ago. So in any case, we did a soil gas survey. They wanted another one, so we provided that. There was a large repaving project, and that unfortunately destroyed 3 of the soil probes, so we have to replace those. Unfortunately, that's another reason we have a large contingency in this project. The contingency will handle this new requirement for the 3 soil probes. They also asked for indoor air sampling in the building. Compare that with new outdoor sampling and also sub-slab sampling. So we have to drill and sample below that to kind of get an idea of, is this truly, well, first of all, to see if there's dangerous levels of gas inside, volatiles inside, and if so, what exactly is the mechanism it's getting into. And so we'll use that data to come up with a revised remedial plan if necessary, a feasibility study to look at the technologies available, and also to update the human health risk assessment. That's where we bring a toxicologist in. They look at all the data, all the different contamination that we found, the different routes of entry into the building, and they come up with a figure to determine cancer risk. And if it's above a certain level, then we are obligated to do the remediation. That's basically the technical aspects, and I do want to point out that we have very good compliance with Kleinfelder on the BIP. So if you have any other questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you for that. Commissioners, any questions or comments related to this item? Seeing none, is there first and a second? First by Commissioner Mitchell, seconded by Commissioner Cardenas.
Very well. We'll go ahead and take a roll call vote on approval of item 3, starting with you, President Kang.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant.
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell. Aye. And Commissioner Cardenas.
Aye.
All ayes. Item 3 is adopted and will move forward forthwith.
Thank you very much. Moving along.
Thank you.
Thank you. To item number 4 for Council District 4, request for authority, the Ventura Boulevard and Woodman Avenue Improvements Project.
Hi, good afternoon, Commissioner. My name is George Huang from the Bureau of Engineering. We're here today to present on the Ventura Boulevard and Woodman Avenue Improvement Project. We're recommending the Board of Public Works approve the termination of this construction contract and also issue a supplemental agreement final closeout change order in the deductive amount of $619,289.56. With me is the project manager for this project, and Kayla Pagey, and she will be giving a bit of about the background of the project, kind of the sequence of events leading up to the contract termination, and also the status of the project closeout.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. The original scope of work consisted of widening Woodman Avenue to add a northbound right turn lane onto Ventura Boulevard, including new sidewalk, curb and gutter, curb ramps, and traffic signal upgrades. On April 28, 2021, the board awarded a contract to Alameda in the amount of $855,454.08, and the notice to proceed was issued on June 29, 2021. After the NCP was issued, BOE was informed by the incoming council member for Council District 4 that the project's roadway widening component did not align with the city's Mobility Plan 2035 and requested to rescope the project at the intersection of Ventura Boulevard and Woodman Avenue. The original widening scope was needed to alleviate traffic congestion caused by the lack of a right turn lane. The project was initiated by the Department of Transportation and the Department of City Planning and is funded by the Ventura Cahuenga Boulevard Corridor Specific Plan Trust Fund. While BOE had incorporated the city's mobility plan improvements by adding pedestrian enhanced network features such as curb ramps, sidewalks, crosswalks, and traffic signal updates, the new CD4 determined that the widening aspect did not prioritize its mobility goals to emphasize reducing vehicle miles traveled, increasing transit ridership, and improving active transportation safety, comfort, and mobility. BOE determined that rescoping the project would cause extensive time delays and added cost to Alameda's current construction contract. Therefore, BOE notified Alameda in January 2023 that the city intends to terminate this contract and to submit all eligible costs associated with the termination. In February 2023, CD4 introduced a motion instructing BOE to terminate the widening project and this current construction contract. The motion also directed the widening component be removed and replaced with improvements that are consistent with the city's Mobility Plan 2035 goals. The City Council adopted the motion on April 14, 2023, and the Mayor approved it on April 26, 2023. Because the city's termination of the contract is at no fault to Alameda, the city is obligated under the contract provisions to negotiate Alameda's costs associated with the termination. At that time, Alameda had already completed the design build plans and prepared construction surveying, worksite traffic control plans, and utility potholing. Alameda initially requested compensation in the amount of $156,813.38. After a series of negotiations, the city and Alameda agreed on a final settlement amount of $62,599.92 as compensation for Alameda's direct costs and overhead, including waiving all future claims associated with its contract termination. The contract termination also deletes all unused bid items, resulting in a deduction of $681,889.48 from the original contract amount of $855,454.08, bringing the prior contract work completed to $173,564.60. Because the net change to the contract cost exceeds 25% of the contract amount, a supplemental agreement change order is required. This supplemental agreement final closeout change order in Transmittal 4 will be fully executed upon adoption of this report. The sum of all prior contract work completed, change orders, and the $62,599.92 from the final claim amount would bring Alameda's revised final contract amount to $254,435.84. Currently, BOE is working to add active transportation improvements, which includes revising the project scope of work to include constructing a new curb extension at the northwest corner, dual unidirectional curb ramps, bus pads, replacing sidewalk and curb and gutter, asphalt concrete pavement, and upgrades to traffic signal timing and phasing. We recommend the board to approve terminating the construction contract and issuance of the supplemental agreement final closeout change order to Alameda. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Commissioner Cardenas.
Thank you for that. Just one question. Didn't catch it on there. So that work is going to be continued on another project, and do you have a timeline on that?
Yes, so we are working on the new design, and so it will remove the widening aspect, but include all of the pedestrian safety features. And the timelines, I think we're trying to get a toss out within the next month.
I couldn't hear that last part. Speak into the mic, please.
We would like to get the toss out in the next month for a consultant to help design.
Thank you.
About the new project. Hi, this is George again. Yeah, we're Commissioner. We have the funding that's been transferred to rescope the project from the council motion. So right now, our team is looking at it from back to kind of the design phase, back to the drawing board, looking at the different mobility plan elements that is a priority for CD4, and and we will be kind of proposing that to the council district once we have that scope in mind. Just kind of what we alluded to in the report is right now curb extensions would fit into that category. We're no longer providing the right turn pocket that was originally in the design. So we're looking to more like widen the opportunities to increase the width of the sidewalk and then reduce the crossing along the intersection of Ventura and Woodman. So far that's kind of our progress right now.
Thank you for that.
Vice President Chavez.
I find this so interesting that we were informed by the incoming council member for the 4th District of the conflicts that the proposed project had with the city's mobility plan. Who in the city is responsible for the implementation of the city's mobility plan? Which department?
I believe the mobility plan was started by the Department of Planning within the city. They drafted up the mobility plan is what I remember reading from there. And then it goes through a series of review and comment from other city departments such as BOE and Los Angeles Department of Transportation. So it's a collaborative effort, but I do recall seeing that the document itself was like initiated by the planning department. But with a lot of input from different city departments.
So how is there a normal process? Now we have HLA, so I think now the goal is things that conflict with the mobility plan will now go through that vetting process. But other than that, is there an existing coordination that occurs with the multiple departments that are in charge of the mobility plan to ensure that, you know, we don't have to wait for the council office to point these things out to us? Is there a process in place?
Yeah. Just to kind of clarify as well, initially when the project was packaged, there were elements of the mobility plan in the original project. We were improving the sidewalk in the area. We were putting new curb ramps that were updated to the current ADA compliance. The element that was added at the time was to also relieve the congestion caused by the vehicles making a right turn from Ventura onto Woodman. So I think we did comply with. We're attempting to kind of mesh a lot of elements together, but they did include mobility plan elements as well. It's just when the incoming new council member came in, and I think their more priority was now to kind of take a step back, saying that the city no longer wants to, or at least in that district, didn't want to add lanes to the roadway. So which is another, it can be said that it's another kind of element of the mobility plan is to kind of do more traffic calming instead on the project. So I think there were, I think in terms of what BOE had delivered, we did include kind of what had an agreement with the previous council district in terms of the scope. It's just different priorities has shifted when the new administration came in. So right now what we can do is, because there is HLA compliance requirements now that's in place, we do have to submit our proposal or our scope of work and look at all the elements that the network, mobility plan networks that are part of Ventura and Woodman. So those elements we would have to evaluate and that's what we're doing right now, is trying to look at all those, at least right now, the pedestrian enhancement network, is that correct, Kayla? Yeah, it currently falls along the street. So already we are doing that in those kind of improvements, such as upgrading the sidewalk, putting curb ramps on there, and the curb extensions is also another feature that make up that pedestrian enhancement improvements as well in the mobility plan.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? I know this is, when I was reviewing this, also very unfortunate that we had to kind of reverse course and kind of led to taxpayer dollars kind of being wasted on a couple things. But at least we're able to course correct. So appreciate you bringing this to our attention. Is there a first and a second?
So move.
First by President Pro Tem Grant, seconded by Commissioner Mitchell.
Very well, we will go ahead and take a roll call vote on approval of item 4, starting with you, President Kang.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant.
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell. And Commissioner Cardenas.
Aye.
All ayes. Item 4 is adopted and will move forward forthwith.
Thank you very much.
You.
Moving forward to item number 5 from the Bureau of Sanitation for all council districts, request for authority enterprise asset management system, ELIPS.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Dan Cito. I'm with LA Sanitation Information and Control Systems Division. We're asking for approval for 1 year of annual software maintenance for our asset management system, Ellipse, for an amount of $204,296.29. The Ellipse software is from Hitachi Energy. It's being used within our water reclamation facilities, as well as for the maintenance of the conveyance systems. The software maintenance is an integral portion of doing maintenance for the assets in these divisions. The maintenance provides software fixes, software bugs, patches, corrections. It also provides support for us if in the case of issues with the software when it does arise, so we're able to contact them. And that's basically the request.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Cardenas.
Yes, thank you. Just to clarify, this software is used at which facilities again?
It's used at all of our water reclamation facilities, so LAG, DC, LA Glendale Water Reclamation Facility, DC Tillman, Hyperion, Terminal Island.
So all of them?
All of them.
All right, perfect, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? And I know that this particular entity is the only software manufacturer that can triage our current issues. That is the sole source justification, right?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Commissioner, is there a first and a second?
Second.
First by Commissioner Mitchell, seconded by Commissioner Cardenas.
Very well, we will go ahead and take a roll call vote on approval of item 5, starting with you, President Kang.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant.
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell and Commissioner Cardenas.
Aye.
All ayes. And item 5 is adopted and will move forward forthwith.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 6 for all council districts, request for authority, CDM Smith.
Thank you. I have a presentation too that'll be queued up momentarily.
Okay, I think we're up. All right, let's get started.
Thank you so much. So good morning, President and Commissioners. My name is Emilio Lopez, and I work with the Bureau of Sanitation under Wastewater Engineering Services Division. I'm the engineer that leads the Critical Infrastructure Group. And what we're presenting here is Task Order Solicitation 043, and we're recommending 3 items to the board. I have my colleague here, Musa Sangari, who will be running the slideshow. So the first item we're recommending to the board is to authorize the Director and General Manager of the Bureau of Sanitation, or designee to award the Task Order Solicitation S043 to CDM Smith. And secondly, approve the total budget of $9 million for structural condition assessment of large diameter sewers using CCTV and or laser and sonar profiling. And then lastly, approve the term of engagement for 3 years, beginning with the notice to proceed date with an optional 10-month extension. So a little bit of background on this project. A large component of sewer planning is based on televising the sewers, taking that data that we collect and making informed decisions as we go through the planning process. So starting with planning, identifying which sewers need to be repaired and kind of triaging the system that way. So when we're talking about large diameter sewers, we're talking about pipes that are 15 inches or larger. So since 2017, LA San has been implementing a rigorous sewer renewal program to reduce sewage spills and upgrade aging sewer infrastructure, and with the goal of protecting public health, safety, and the environment. So total, the sewer collection system is comprised of 6,700 miles. When we're talking about large diameter, as I spoke earlier, we're looking at a subset of that of 700 miles. And what we're showing in front of you is some of these major defects that we found. So this TOS is the 4th iteration. The previous iteration started back in 2017. What we found in 2017 is major defects in the sewer lines. Major defects like the ones you see on the screen, where the pipe is completely gone. We have a void, we have soil missing, we have a huge hole. When we did some further investigation, we thought there was a top encasement that you can see on the top. That was actually the street. So this pipe was about 10 feet from the surface. The pipe itself was 4 feet in diameter, or 4 feet high. You can see the remaining portion kind of in the back bottom left of your picture. And that remaining portion was less than an inch thick. And that's the top of the crown that should be taking the full load of everything above it. Those depths should be around 6 inches in thickness in concrete. And Musa, if you can go to the next slide. The next slide shows an example of what I just described. The sewer's crown should be approximately 6 inches in depth in concrete, and that would give us full structural integrity. This line was severely compromised, and these are the defects that we're looking to identify and avoid. And what we're doing as part of this scope of work is to continue to monitor, not only look for these areas and put them into our process flow of these need to be rehabilitated in emergency and under emergency and done quickly and rapidly. So in these two examples, we closed the street and did a top encasement and then came in and fully rehabilitated the line. So what we've learned throughout these endeavors since 2017 to now is we've identified 130 locations similar to these two you've seen. Musa, can you go to the next slide? We've also learned that critical pipes deteriorate a lot differently during rain events. So for us, our rain season is October 15th through April 15th. And in front of you can see kind of the deterioration that plays out. So in 2017, if you're looking at the top left of your screen, we identified a hole. As we identified it, we went into our emergency protocols. This hole was located underneath Union Pacific and Metrolink tracks, underneath a DWP transmission line and adjacent to the LA River. If you can see, during dry weather, just typical no rain event flow, the sewer is running at about 30% full. When the rain events hit and they're significant enough in the tributary area upstream, these pipes can run full, and at that point we're dealing with erosion as well as the corrosion. And what we've noticed is critical pipes such as the ones in front of you, they'll start to deteriorate at an accelerated rate. So what happened in 2018, we had a large rain event, this pipe surcharged, that hole expanded. Later that year, 2018, we had another rain event and 2 holes were created and 2 cavities were created. So what these inspections and what this task order solicitation does is give us tools in our toolbox to go out and inspect what we flag as critical through previous iterations and previous data that we have. If you look to the right of your screen, you can see the laser profiling that I described earlier. So laser profiling helps us kind of map out the voids. When we mapped out this void, on top of the crown was a 6-foot void, and that's as far as the laser could measure, so it's possible that the void was larger. Musa, if you go to the next slide, please. So the main goal of this is to prioritize our rehabilitation, so we're not just focused on areas that may not need the rehabilitation, and we focus on areas that do. Currently, that location looks like this today. So it's a fully rehabilitated pipe. It should extend the life of that pipe another 50 to 70 years. So in addition to, as we said, prioritizing the previous 3 phases of this contract, have prioritized 59 capital improvement projects to help sanitation manage the capital improvement program. So through this TOS, we're continuing the inspection efforts from the previous TOSs, and we're taking those lessons learned that I just described. Not only are we taking those lessons learned, but we're looking to expand out into new and emerging technologies and innovative technologies. So through each iteration, we put that out there in our scope of works, that we're looking to get new and innovative technology into the city of Los Angeles to help us televise and CCTV our pipes. So right now we're taking a twofold approach. One is traditional CCTV inspections, which is putting a camera into the line, having it tethered from above, walking in and locating each defect. Another approach that we're doing is an untraditional method, which is a rapid inspection. So what we do there is we drop the cameras in from the upstream side or the higher side of the pipe and let it free float, and putting 360 cameras on there to capture areas that we know are in poor condition, or we know maybe have started to structurally deteriorate, but we're not sure, and we maybe just need a check-in inspection. So we're really looking to expand our toolbox with these task order solicitations. So going into the selection process of this TOS, we advertised the TOS on October 29th of 2024. And on November 12th of 2024, we held a pre-proposal meeting to all interested parties, primes and subs. We had 8 prime consultants attend. On December 4th of 2024, we had the proposal submittal date, where we got 4 firms to submit proposals. From there, we held interviews, and interviews were held on February 12th, 18th, and 19th of 2025. And then on April 11th of 2025, we issued a notice of selection to CDM Smith. And that brings us to the business inclusion. So as part of the scope of work, since this is our 4th phase, we always look to carve out a portion of our scope of work to improve our business inclusion numbers. So what we've done this time around is added site recon, and that's in the planning stage to identify if we do have a maintenance hole available, that it's not paved over, and kind of doing that initial upfront work. So our anticipated pledged amounts were 18% MBE, 4% WBE, 25% SBE, 8% EBE, and 3% DVBE. We didn't meet those numbers due to the specialized nature of the scope of work, but CDM has pledged 12.3% MBE, 1.94% WBE, 14.2% SBE, 0% EBE, and 0% DVBE. And then there's also 58.2% OBE. So this concludes my presentation. As a reminder, what we're recommending for the board to approve is the budget amount of $9 million to be awarded to CDM Smith. And at this time, I'll take any questions or comments.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Commissioner Cardenas.
Yes, thank you for that report. And since we had our briefing last week, it kept my mind going. So this is for pipes that are 54 inches in diameter and greater, correct?
So this is for pipes that are 15 inches,
50 inches
and larger.
Okay. What are we doing with the smaller pipes? So is there a concern with that, or is there a different program that goes to the 49 and smaller?
So great question. So what we do with the smaller pipes is we have LA Sand crews that go out and can inspect it, and then we also have our operation and maintenance. So they do those inspections. The reason why the large pipes are excluded from that scope of work is just due to the specialized nature. Typically, small lines you can run cleaning equipment in, and that helps kind of raise your chances of getting a full inspection. With a lot of these large lines, we don't have cleaning equipment that can really clean the large lines. So it requires that highly specialized equipment and robotics to go in there.
Right. And follow up on that, you mentioned it was it just under 700 miles of the 54-inch or 50-inch pipe? What percentage of that has been inspected? Do you know?
So when we're talking about inspected, we look at what we call valid inspections. So we call valid inspections everything that has been inspected within the last 15 years. So with that, we have about 25% inspected and 75% non-inspected.
So there's a potential for what we saw in those photos to be occurring in somewhere in that 75%.
Yes, and that's why we're going out with a systematic approach of going to vulnerable materials first. Pipes that aren't reinforced with concrete, so just concrete pipes, brick and concrete that just will fail immediately. We're also looking at, in the scope of work, 47 miles of sewers to be assessed annually at a minimum. So we're looking to get much higher numbers than that as we go out to really make a dent to sway that percentage in the other way.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, is there a first and a second?
Second.
First by Commissioner Mitchell, seconded by Commissioner Cardenas.
Very well. We'll go ahead and take a roll call vote on approval of item 6, starting with you, President Kang.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant.
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell. And Commissioner Cardenas.
Aye.
All ayes. Item 6 is adopted and will move forward forthwith.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Moving on to item number 7, request for authority execute MOA between sanitation and the Department of Water and Power.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. We're going to have a presentation on the screen shortly. Good afternoon again. My name is Nasir Emami, and I'm a senior environmental engineer with Water Recycling Implementation Division at Hyperion. And I'm joined by my colleague, Kimia Nader Tehrani, who's the project manager for the Hyperion MBR pilot facility. And MBR stands for membrane bioreactor. So we would like to request authority to execute a memorandum of agreement between LA SAN and Los Angeles Department of Water and Power for the cost sharing of design, construction, and testing of the Hyperion MBR pilot facility. So let me start with a brief overview of Hyperion MBR pilot facility and the Pure Water Los Angeles program. So the Hyperion MBR pilot facility is a 1 MG that stands for million gallon per day, a 1 million gallon per day advanced water purification demonstration facility. It serves as the cornerstone for converting Hyperion to a full potable reuse facility under the Pure Water Los Angeles program. So the central goal of Pure Water Los Angeles program is to develop and maximize a new sustainable source of local water supply by converting Hyperion to a potable reuse facility. Also to diversify Los Angeles water recycling or water's portfolio. Next slide, please. Just a brief context on the Hyperion MBR pilot facility project. So this is a joint effort between us, LASAN, and Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. So we have received approval from State Water Resources Control Board, Division of Drinking Water, and Los Angeles Regional Water Quality Control Board on our testing and monitoring plan. Also, we have established an independent scientific advisory panel for this project. So key objectives of Hyperion MBR pilot facility are to develop, design, cost, operation and maintenance and performance criteria for the conversion of Hyperion to a advanced water purification facility. Also to compare MBR technologies from 3 different vendors side by side and test those MBR technologies. So back to the, so this is the timeline for the Hyperion MBR pilot facility project. The construction of this project was completed in January 2024. So its operation as we speak is pending completion of an odor control facility. So to collect all the off-gases from the MBR pilot facility and to treat those off-gases to ensure that this facility is not causing any odor issues for the surrounding neighborhoods. So upon the completion of the odor control facility, we will initiate the wastewater startup and commissioning of this facility. So back to the MOA. So this new MOA is required because our previous MOA from 2017 was expired in December 2021. That's number one. Number two, the scope of work and budget for the MBR pilot facility has changed since 2017. And lastly, West Basin Municipal Water District is no longer part of this partnership. So that's why that we need this new MOA. So there is a cost table in the board report that tabulates all the costs and budget components for this effort to be cost shared. So a total budget of $30 million after subtracting $1 million that initially was contributed by West Basin, the $29 million budget will be equally cost shared between LASAN and LADWP. So the maximum contribution would be $14.5 million per entity. Upon the execution of this memorandum of agreement, we will invoice Los Angeles Department of Water and Power for any outstanding balances as of the execution date. And upon the completion of the MBR pilot facility, we will invoice them for any outstanding balances. With that, I'm open to any questions or comments that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. Commissioner Mitchell?
So your slide says that we executed the proposed new MOA in March 2025?
So March 20...
Or that, I'm sorry, DWP did it. I just read it, GWP, not us.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the LADWP's Board of Commissioners approved the MOA in March this year, March 2025.
Okay, so we've completed the pilot. Why are we waiting 4 years to execute the MOA?
So the construction of the pilot has been completed, but as I mentioned earlier, the operation of the pilot is pending the completion of the odor control facility, which is projected to be completed in December this year. So our projected timeline to operate the MBR pilot facility.
Well, my question is why are we waiting 4 years to have the respective boards? And if they signed in March, it's September for this board to sign. So we've operated without an MOA for basically 4 years. and it's coming to this board 6 months after DWP signed. Why are we waiting so long?
So we wanted to get a better, for various reasons. One reason is that, the scope of this pilot is tied into the Pure Water Los Angeles program, which is a very dynamic scope. And
I understand I'm supposed to be in a meeting right now, but I'm still trying to figure out why the delay.
And we wanted also, to get a better picture of, like what it takes to operate this facility. So right now we have a good picture in terms of construction, cost of construction, which has been completed, and also the what it takes to operate this facility.
So you don't know why we waited over 4 years to get an MOA. Construction ended in January 2024. DWP signed off in March of this year, and you're asking us to sign off today. Is that it?
Yeah, so March 2025, LEDWP's Board of Commissioners.
So you don't know why we have such a delay?
We're not, in terms of the MOA, we're not on the critical path of, that's my understanding of this project, because as I mentioned earlier, we're still waiting for the construction of the odor control facility to be completed. But as you mentioned, yes. Yeah, LEDWP completed in March 2025.
Okay. And Commissioners, any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, is there a first and a second?
Second.
First by Commissioner Mitchell, seconded by Vice President Chavez.
Very well. We'll go ahead and take a roll call vote on approval of item 7, starting with you, President Kay.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant.
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Cardenas.
Aye.
All ayes, and item 7 is adopted, referred to the mayor forthwith.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Moving on to our final item, number 9, which is a motion, AFE Corrit.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Michelle Mikesell, and I am a Senior Management Analyst and manage the food rescue programs for LA Sanitation and Environment. I'm here to ask you to approve the CARE application subscription AE 2646D237M. In response to the food insecurity and methane emissions in California, the state of California established Senate Bill 1383, which mandates food-generated businesses to donate the maximum amount of surplus edible food that would otherwise be disposed. And in January of 2023, the city also approved the Organics Ordinance 187711, and what it does is help to implement the mandated organics program and create an enforcement vehicle. Carrot is a web-based application designed to be an all-inclusive data tracking tool to assist municipalities in establishing a comprehensive SB 1383 compliant edible food waste prevention program. The data that is collected by the application meets all of the regulated requirements of SB 1383 and the city's organics ordinance annually. While the front end app is free for FROs and edible food generators, EFGs, to use jurisdictional access to the data for compliance, inspection, and reporting purposes, it requires a paid subscription of $30,000 a year. LA Sanitation received a CalRecycle Local Assistance Grant to fund LA San subscription for 2 years. The board approved the first fiscal year 2024 and 2025 funding last May, And we are now returning to request that you approve the second $30,000 for the fiscal year 25-26 subscription. The CARA application subscription gives the city high-quality data that helps not only our Tier 1 and Tier 2 EFGs and FROs maintain compliance to the state and city regulations, but also advances the city's sustainability and food security goals. We recommend that CARET AE 2646D237M be approved for the annual subscription of 1 year to fulfill the CalRecycle Local Assistance Grant funding of $30,000 for fiscal year 25-26. Might there be any questions?
Thank you very much. Commissioners, any questions or comments on item number 9? Commissioner Cardenas.
Thank you. Just one quick question. We have 1 year of data. What have we done with that data? Has it been successful, or is there any kinks in the system that we need to change in our data gathering process?
Sure. We are able to see that we are making headway in the number of edible food generators as well as food rescue organizations that have actually been inspected and are either in compliance so we can send them enforcement, or if they are in compliance, we can let them know they're in compliance and then celebrate their success. But as far as, so that's really the main thing that we're looking at currently. And as the as our program rolls out and more inspections, thank you, are completed, we'll have more data to look at.
And what's the percentage of users out there that are utilizing this system? Are we at 100%, 50%, 20%? What's our capture rate out there?
We don't know specifically as far as the food generators and the food rescue organizations. It's not required for those kind of the generators. It's not required for them to actually be using CARET. It's more for the municipality to keep track. On an annual basis, the food rescue organizations do have to report back to us what they are receiving in donations in pounds and who those donors are. And through CARET, we're able to track that. But they don't have to be using CARET. They can use any other program that we can then get that same information from. But it's much easier, obviously, if they are using CARET.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, is there a first and a second?
Second.
First by Commissioner Mitchell, seconded by Commissioner Cardenas.
Very well. We'll go ahead and take a roll call vote on approval of item 9, starting with you, President Kang.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant.
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell. And Commissioner Cardenas.
Aye.
All ayes. Item 9 is approved and will move forward forthwith.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Knight, does that conclude our desk for today?
Yes, it does, President Kang.
Our next meeting will be on Wednesday, September 17th, 2025. The meeting is now adjourned at 12:52 p.m. And unfortunately, we will not be having our management meeting. Thank you very much.